Hi. Today I want to talk to you about composting toilets. Now, there are really two major brands on the market today. The Airhead and the Nature's Head. Both of these composting toilets are excellent products. And so in this video, I don't want to do anything to diminish how good these products are. However, these products are pretty high-line, high-dollar products. I think there's a third option, and it's called the C-Head. Now, I just got this composting toilet, and I haven't even opened it yet. So I wanted to wait and open it with you watching. So I've ordered this C-Head composting toilet, and boy, I noticed as soon as I opened this box, they have packaged it very well. They've got it glued together with these things here, and it is filled with all kinds of goodies here. And as I said, I believe that this is a good third option in composting toilets. For one, the price is what got me. This is pushing half of what both of these are. But this one is far less than both of these. And I believe it's a really, really good product. And so I thought you might want to watch as I open this up and just see what they give us here. Now I'm new to all of this too, so I'm just kind of checking all of this out myself. I have my shipping papers and so forth, and a lot of times you'll see these videos and they never tell you how much the price is. Well, I've got my billing slip right here, and the price is total $619. Now that might cause you to go, oh my goodness. Well, I realize that that's kind of expensive. And I've had people say to me, why don't you just build your own composting toilet? You can do it for $50 to $100. Well, that's probably true. You can get by building your own composting toilet. But I like to stay within county zoning regulations. And I've checked with our own county, the health department, and as long as I buy a commercial composting toilet that meets their requirements, they're good with it. But if I build it myself, it really hasn't met all of the criteria according to their standards and so forth. So that was the really big reason I decided to purchase a composting toilet rather than to try to build one myself. And there are some really good ones out there. I believe this is one of them. So as we unpackage this, we're going to see some different things here that they have. They have, get this, they have some different fittings in here. This is to set up, if you want to, a way to vent this composting toilet. They have the different tubes and so forth to hook into the composting toilet. Now they claim that this composting toilet does not need ventilation, and we'll see, and I'll get back with you about that. But I have this all packaged together here. Again, very well packaged. And then they have the tubes for venting it, if you should choose to vent it. Now this particular brand, this particular model does not come with a venting fan, but you can get those. Both of these other composting toilets do have a 12-volt venting fan to keep maybe that musty smell out of the house and so forth. So if this is needed, it does have the option to do it. Okay? All right, so we're going to actually grab the composting toilet out of the box at this time. And again, they have this packaged very well. They have it all wrapped. And I need to find the beginning here. Okay, so this here, again, it's called the C-Head. And they have basically a regular toilet seat here. But there's a little bit of a difference, obviously. This one has a hole in the top. And that is to put in the handle to crank it to mix the compost bin inside the toilet. We'll get to that in just a minute. Now this seat here is kind of a neat thing. It's Velcroed down so that when you lift it, normally it lifts the whole unit. So lift that. Now to shut it off from the compartment, they have this little neat little thing here that you put in, and you just put it back in there, and that kind of seals it off from the waste and so forth. That's what helps keep the odor down. And you can set that off to the side, or you can set that back here or so forth, whatever. But this front lifts up then, and this here is the elements inside of it, and then I'll get it into a position so you can see better. But basically it starts off with, which is kind of funny, but a gallon jug. And the gallon jug is going to catch the urine. And I'll talk about that in just a second. And then we have this, what basically is a modified 5-gallon bucket that the compost, that the stool goes into and so forth. So it sits in here like this. And then the jug goes in. And as long as you have the jug with the handle toward the back, it doesn't matter if it goes this way or if it goes this way. It slides down in there, and then this window tells you when the urine is full. So now here is the secret of this composting toilet compared to just having a bucket that you go to the bathroom in. This composting toilet separates the stool from the urine, and that is the main key in keeping odor down. It's when the two get mingled together that you have this sewage smell that gets real strong. When the pee or the urine is diverted into a separate container, it's going to get dumped pretty often, but it keeps that odor and that liquid from the solids, and then the solids can dry quicker, and then the smell is reduced to almost nothing. Now, the reason that happens is this is called a urine diverter. Here's how this works. When you open the toilet initially to sit down to go to the bathroom, you sit yourself in such a way as your urine goes to the front, and then it goes down into the gallon jug. And then the stool drops in back here into the bucket. And then when you're done, you take the crank and you crank it 10, 15 times, and then that causes the stool to get sunk down into the matter that you have in there. Now, let me just grab the handle real quick to show you how that works. So our handle is right here. So basically this handle goes down into this hole, and you can feel it go down in there, and it actually fits into this thing. It has a little arrow, tells you which way to go. And you rotate this like so, and then that mixes the stool with the material that's in the bucket and covers it up basically, thus starting the process of sucking the moisture out of the stool and then reducing that potential for odor that builds up, and then starts that composting process so that by the time you're done, it won't be noticeable. It'll be mixed all together. Now typically there's 3 things that they put into the compost bin where the stool goes in order to draw that moisture out of the stool. I'm going to go ahead and set this on the floor so we can take a look at it here. And before I go any farther with that, there is one thing I want to say about this toilet that basically sold me on this particular brand. Earlier I had said the price was a big thing, and it really was. It was nearly half. But functional-wise, the biggest thing that sold me on this being different from these other 2 composting toilets, again, very good products, but both of these compost toilets, the Airhead and the Nature's Head, when it comes time to dump where the stool is, where you got to dump the big bin, you've got to lift the top off of both of these toilets and literally undo it from the floor, because you can have these where they mount to the floor, and you've got to you've got to take this whole unit outside to dump it. And it's the same on both of these. So you've got to lift the top off of it, set it aside, and then you've got to take the whole bottom with you out and dump it, and then wash it out, because it's going to be pretty nasty, and then bring it back in, or fill it back up, and then bring it back in. And with this one of the really big selling points for me is when you go to dump this, all you do is take out your jug for your urine, and you're probably going to be dumping that as well. And the difference here is it's all contained in this unit right here. So the toilet itself should stay clean. There shouldn't be anything going on in there. There might be a little bit of splashing here and there, but for the most part, it stays seated. It stays set right where you've got it. So you leave this unit sitting, and you carry this out, and you dump this, and then you can hose it out, and then put your material back in it again, get it all ready to go so that it's all done outside. All the dirty stuff stays outside. Then you bring it back in, you lift the top, you set it down in there. It's got a way that it lines it up so you know you've got it lined up perfectly. And it's got these stops to do that. And then you put your jug back in it. Again, doesn't matter which way as long as the handle's toward the back. And you're ready to go again. I mean, that's just it. And you just, So that was a big thing. All right, so basically, the stuff that you put in the compartment that draws the moisture out of the stool, because that is the big advantage of keeping the odor down, is that you want a material that you put in there that's going to draw the moisture out as quickly as possible. That's where you get the odor reduction and so forth. So there's typically three things that they use. They use what's called coconut core. It comes in a hard brick, pressed really hard. And I don't intend to use that because it's kind of a hassle. You got to break it up, and then you got to moisten it and all that to get it to go into the thing. I'm going to try two different things here. The first thing that I want to try is just age-old proven wood shavings. This is just pine wood shavings. I got these at a farm store around here called Farm and Fleet. And it comes pressed in a bag. There's 3.5 cubic feet. And it's about $6 a bag. And this should last a long, long time. If you are going to go with a wood shavings, when I was there, they had a couple of different brands. And here's one thing I did notice. Now, I'm currently using this for my little chicks. We're starting some little chicks, raising them out. And I'm using this for bedding in the chicken house. And but here's one thing that I didn't know before that I saw on this particular product. It says here that it's multi-screened for low dust. So the other bag that they had didn't say anything about that. So I can imagine that if you're feeding some of this stuff into the toilet and so forth, dust might become an issue, and you don't want that. This here is really low dust. When I have been spraying it around in the chicken house, I find that there virtually isn't any dust. So it's really nice to have a much cleaner product there. And then the other thing that I do want to try is called Peat Moss. And this is also a very popular thing to use in them because it says right on the packaging. I got this at our local Menards lumber shop. But it says right on here, it says for maximizing water retention. So in your gardens, if you have soil that dries out quickly, they encourage you to mix this into the soil, and it draws up the water and then holds it so that it can help that soil retain that moisture. That's why this works real good in composting toilets, because that's exactly what it does. It sucks up moisture. It draws the moisture to itself. And in this case, you're wanting to draw the moisture from something else. And so peat moss is a pretty popular thing to use. I haven't used either one of these because I've never used a composting toilet, at least not one like this. So I want to try both of these products to see which one I like better. I'm going to start with the pine shavings because I just think it, well, for one, I think it's got a really nice smell to it. And I think it's just cleaner. As you saw, my hand gets kind of dirty with dealing with this. So the sawdust is just a lot cleaner product. So since I'm going to start that, I want to go ahead and show you what's going to happen with that. So basically, what you do is you, again, you'll lift the top of the toilet, and you take out your urine container, and then you take out your solids container. And now if you look down in here, I hope you'll be able to see it with the camera. You'll see that there's like a white stripe down in there. So it sits at about right here. And the intent there is to fill this bucket, this solid waste container, up about halfway. And with that done, you're supposed to get, for 2 people using it regularly, you're supposed to be able to get 3 to 4 weeks. And again, you might think, well, no way. But keep in mind, only solids are going to be going into this compartment here. And then they're going to get churned into the sawdust, and they're going to be, the moisture is going to be sucked out of it. What we're going to do is we're going to fill this about halfway with the sawdust. All right, guys, now this is especially for you. This is for your wife's sake. You always want to clean up a mess when you've made a mess, because you don't want the wife to come in and say, look at this, because then her first reaction to this compost toilet is, this is a dirty mess to deal with. So get rid of that mess before she knows it's even here. All right, back to business. So we've got our stool compartment about half full. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that back here into the unit. And we can put the urine container back in as well. And shut it down. And then when we put the handle back in it, that's when you will be rotating the stuff that you've put in the bin that draws the stool down into it and begins that dehydrating mode as far as getting the moisture out of it. Now, what I wanted to do here is I wanted you to be able to see what's happening inside of this bucket. Okay, so you see that as this rotates, it's agitating that pine shavings here in the bin, and that's what draws it down. Now, I don't want to gross anybody out, but I did want to throw a couple of samples in here for you. These aren't real, but let's say this was dropped in there, just like that. And as you rotate this again, so it's about 10 or 15 times. So let's just see where 10 times is, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's 10, and it's gone, folks. You can't see it anymore. And let's just drop our next one in, okay? So there's our next one. And you just keep rotating that. That's 2, 3, 4. Again, there's 10, and it's gone. I don't think you can see it in there. So this is the process it uses to draw that stool down and begin sucking the moisture out of it. And there is your key to no odor. So it's really a fantastic way to do it. And now these other models do it the same way, except it's not on the top, it's on the side. Both of these other models, the hand crank is actually on the side. Now, you saw me get down on my knee, but I'm just trying to show you what's going on. But when you work these two, you do have to get down on your knee to get low enough to crank the cranks on the side of the compost toilet. But the C head, when you put it in there, when you're done going to the bathroom, you get your handle and you stick it in the top, and then you're just standing up. All you're doing is just cranking it from up top here. So it's much easier than getting down on your hands and knees or trying to bend way down in order to crank that thing up. So it was just a couple of really important things that I thought made this product comparable again. It's not as fancy as a deal with the inner workings, but it's a very practical thing. And I'm really excited about getting a chance to use it. I know that maybe kind of sounds a little bit weird, but here at Simpler Ways Educational Homestead, that's exactly what we're all about. We're trying to get back to a simple way of doing things. And so we try to do these educational videos and different things. One day we hope to have an actual address for Simpler Ways Educational Homestead. Right now, all of teachings are going to be online and so forth. But, we want to try to push the whole idea of simpler living. And because one of those things is if you're trying to set up a homestead, a septic system is a very expensive thing. And you've got to have a reliable water source to make a flushing toilet go. So with a composting toilet, you don't need any of that stuff. And so it's a way of dealing with human waste in a very practical and inexpensive way. Even if you think, folks, these being over $1,000, a septic system can cost as much as $8,000 to $10,000. So even with these more expensive models, they're health department approved in most counties, I believe, and they're very inexpensive compared to putting in a whole septic system. Someone might say, well, what do you do with draining your sink and the shower and stuff? Well, that's all called gray water. And we can do a teaching on that one a little later on. But right now, this here is what I wanted to focus on. And this is my first composting toilet that I've ever had. And I'm real excited about using that. But I'm going to do that in private. And I'll get back with you about how well I think this is working. And so until then, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon.